So good afternoon, everyone. We'll leave a few minutes for everyone to connect to the meeting. Yeah, good afternoon. I hope everyone is doing well. So maybe we can slowly start with the introduction of the webinar today. So again, for the one that are just joining now, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the training. This is a webinar on CSRD data readiness. Today, we are going to discuss some very interesting topics, but first, let me introduce you the framework of this webinar. It's organized as an activity of the Digital for Sustainability project. I will present you the project as an introduction to this webinar. Today, I'm with Ashley Connor and Mukesh Yadav. They're both working at TechEnable and will be your trainers for today. We are all partner in the Digital for Sustainability project. So today, after an overview of this European project, we will present you with an overview, first of all, a discussion on best practices on the digital transformation, then an overview on the CSRD reporting, what does it mean for your business, how to prepare it, and then we'll look a bit closer at some digital tools in order to support you in this task. As I said already, the training will be interactive. You will have some presentation of tools, best practices. You will have to interact also at some point. In terms of logistic, you can post your questions, comment all through the 1.5 hours of the training in the chat box. And we will ask you to fill in a participant survey at the end of the webinar. Maybe let's start with the presentation of the project. So this is us today. So sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Sophie Franceschini, and I work at European Digital SME Alliance, and I'm project manager working on the Digital for Sustainability project that I'm now going to introduce you to. So this project is a 4-year project. Can we go to next time? Yeah, 4-year project that started a year ago, and that is the main objective is to support the digital and sustainability transition. How do we do that? The angle of the project is to work on upskilling and reskilling the workforce to cope with the changes that the digital and sustainability new opportunities are creating. So there are 29 members 29 partners in this project, and TechEnable and Digital SME Alliance are part of it. We can go to next slide, please. So what we are doing in this project is to develop and implement innovative training programs to provide professionals and business with the skills and knowledge to thrive in this rapidly evolving landscape that is the digital technology and sustainable sector. If we go to next slide, I will go a bit more in depth with, so what is green, what is the twin transition, and also what we call the digital sustainability transition. This is an approach that is trying not to look only at the green transition or the sustainable transition from one side and the digital one from another, but to link the two, considering that the two are reinforcing each other's, and that they can bring that the digital sector can bring solution to implement some sustainable practices in your businesses. This new approach will have a deep impact on the labor market and will have an impact on the skill demand. And this is why with this project, we are trying to identify the skill gaps and the skills opportunities that are arising from these transitions. And we are trying to adapt to these changes. So I didn't mention that before. The partners are industry networks, SME organizations, and training institute, education institute, and universities, and we're all working together to create some new tools to reskill and upskill the workforce to be able to support the new demand. If we go to next slide, please. Thank you. So those are the main activities that we are performing under this project. So we have already released an occupational and profile needs and analysis. So this is an analysis on the skill and role changes. We are now at the moment working on the digital sustainable skill strategy, and then we will move to the accreditation and certification framework of the training, and then we will implement the training that we would have developed. Next slide, please. Yes, and now I'm going to give the floor to Ashley. She will present Tech Enable, and she will start with the more practical part of the training. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Sophie, and thanks for introducing the Digital for Sustainability project to everyone here today. As you've mentioned, Tech Enable is a part of that project, and you saw all the great work that we've been doing so far. And yeah, it's a great initiative. So I'd highly recommend anyone, if they're on this, to get involved and to sign up to it. So I suppose Tech Enable, we are a Dublin-based company, founded in 2002, primarily based in Ireland and the UK. We have over 220 working with us, and we would be data, AI, and Azure experts. Some things we're really proud of is that we have won Best Place to Work year on year. We actually got told again this week that we won that again. So, and another great award we have is the AI Partner of the Year with Microsoft. So lots of exciting things happening in Tech Enable. And I suppose myself, I'm going to take you through a couple of different slides today. What we'll start with looking at is sustainability digital transformation best practices. And just to give you a little bit of information about myself, I've been working in this area for over 5 years, before it was cool, I'll say. Back in the day when everything was really focused on Excel sheets and very heavily needing to have PhD students to do a lot of this work. And what I'm going to show you today, hopefully, is that there's a lot of great technologies out there to support your organization and to make the whole sustainability digital transformation a lot more achievable. So if we think about where we are at the minute with sustainability as a whole, we have 1,000 new data entities with the advent of CSRD and all the different types of regulations, voluntary and non-voluntary, that we're seeing at the minute. So those data entities are spread across all of your different departments within an organization. You're needing data from HR, data from finance, data from your supply chains. It's everywhere. And I suppose to add to that complexity is the fact that there's so many different global standards. So there's at least 10 at the minute, but what we're focusing on today is CSRD. And then if we look at, what's the best way to deal with these challenges, and what way should we be looking at this? As highlighted by Mark Tooley from the Green Biz Group. So sustainability is all about leveraging data, not just for compliance. So that's hopefully what we'll go through today, is that it's no longer a tick box exercise that we're doing this, that we're actually using the data generated from sustainability to drive our business decisions and to really help with efficiencies in other places, help with innovation and things like that. And then again, Andrew Cossey from B Labs, he said it's about creating value for your stakeholders, not about just compliance. So what does good look like with all these challenges that I mentioned previously? So how do we actually go about overcoming them? So firstly, it's not about continuous improvement. It's a journey, not an event. So when I say that, what I mean is we must view our efforts through the lens of ongoing efforts. So to meet these new challenges, regulation, expectations, the process is circular. So we would need to regularly assess, adapt, improve our practices, and we have to create a feedback loop within our organizations and with our stakeholders and supply chain. And that's really the best way to drive long-term sustainability. Um, so good sustainability practices, as I said before, they also drive innovation and differentiation. So by continuously refining the processes and embracing new technologies and methodologies, we can really start to overcome the challenges. As I mentioned, when I first started off working in sustainability years ago, it was very manual heavy, lots of, Excel sheets and things like that. But already in maybe just 5 years, there's been a huge change. And what I'm saying there is just, there's lots of great technologies out there and to actually go and utilize them. So we'll be showing you those today. Um, so an approach that I've seen being taken time and time again in organizations, not only in Ireland, but across, all across Europe, is the measure, record, report, and repeat method. So some of you might already know what this is, but the first step in that is to assess your as-is landscape. So what I always describe it as is looking under the bonnet of a car, what's going on under the bonnet? What data do you have at the minute? Where are the gaps? And what systems are currently in place? And that gives you the baseline for your transformation. From there, developing a sustainability digital transformation strategy is really key after you've done your baseline project. So what that is getting everyone in a room together, your stakeholders, everyone who's working towards sustainability, and getting their opinion on what really matters for the business. What are the key risks? What are the focus areas? You could look at that basically, and that defines on how you move forward. Then moving on, prioritization. So once you have that strategy, prioritization is a big piece of this. So we always described it like you don't boil the ocean. So there's a lot of challenges within CSRD, but you can't do everything in one day. It has to be iterative, as we mentioned before. It has to be focused. So we would apply the 80-20 rule here. So rather than trying to do everything at once, like engage all the suppliers at one time, what you would do is focus on maybe 20% of them to begin with that have the most impact, and then move onwards from there. So again, it's this whole idea of circular, come back to it again, not linear. So then what you need to do is measure and track your impacts. So that's really important when it comes to after doing your strategy, you have to measure and track continuously and to ensure that you're on track with what you've promised to do. And we're going to show you some really good tools on how to do that today. There's a number of them. So, there's not a one size fits all. And we'll show you, I think, about three today to do that. And yeah, and then finally, just to review and repeat again, emphasizing this is a circular journey with continuous improvement all the way. Okay, so this is how I best see a digital transformation approach. So on the left, what you're seeing is data all over your organization. It's for CSOD in particular, it's data that we've never really had to report on before. So in some cases, the data is there. In other cases, the data is not there. So this is what it looks like on the left at the minute before you've applied any digital transformation to it. And the goal is to unify that data, to bring it into one place so that it's easy to report on it, to check your KPIs, to, do all the great work beyond just seeing where you are at that minute. So how do you do that? Well, you do that through the different enablers, which are people, which is super important. All the sustainability projects I've been on, people are at the absolute center of it for CSRD reporting. And it's been people in companies and teams that have never probably had to look at sustainability before. So there's a bit of education needed there, training. That's really important for this year in particular. If you guys are looking at, CSRD recording this year. Processes, very important. Technology, again, we've mentioned that. We'll be looking at the technologies today. But what's at the core of all them is data. And yeah, that's just coming through time and time again that data is the core of this. So to give you a break from listening to me for a couple of minutes, we're going to do a short exercise and we'll take about 20 minutes in total to do it. So what I'd like you to do is to pick up your phones and scan the QR code, and that will bring you to a series of questions. And basically what this whole exercise is doing is making you to start to think about where your organization is on a sustainable digital transformation journey. And these are the type of questions you should be asking yourself time and time again throughout the year. You know, is this the direction we're going? Have we addressed these different elements? And yeah, so I'll give you a couple of minutes there to scan the QR code and I will pull up the answers in a minute. Okay, super. I'm gonna pull up the results because I see that most people who are on the call have answered. So brilliant. So if we look at the first question, is have you automated regulatory reporting, such as CSRD? And the answer is exactly as I expected, no. Um, so I think the session will be really helpful for you guys today to see how you can do that and the different tools available. We'll be showing them very soon, just right after this exercise. Can most of your employees explain what CSRD means? About a 50-50 split there, which is great. Um, so brilliant that we're seeing a lot of people can describe what it is, but it's totally understandable that there's some that can't either. But what this does highlight is just a need for training within your organization. Um, and then if we move on to, do you track your ESG data and goals daily in digital tools? 80% no. That's great because we can show you the different tools today. Again, some people do. It'll be great to see in the chats if you could let us know what kind of tools you use, because I suppose we have chosen particular tools today, but just to let everyone know that there's lots of different tools available, and just because the ones that we're showing you today, um, it doesn't mean there's not more out there. So it'd be great to hear what other people are using. Do you have a digital sustainability roadmap? Wow, 73%. I 26% do. Yes, that's fantastic. Brilliant. And that's another thing to keep in mind when we're thinking about the different steps. That's about step two in the sustainability process. Are you using a supplier engagement portal for sustainable collaboration and transparency? That's no. And we'll show you some supplier engagement portals later on. Do you have learning and development in place for sustainability? Brilliant. Yeah, so it's about 50-50 split there. Again, training is a key piece of CSRD. So to have, I think about putting that in place in 2025. Do you understand and plan for the CSRD risks and opportunities your business faces? Yes, that's brilliant. Um, that's a really good result. Do you ask your suppliers to meet sustainability standards, and is this followed digitally? Um, okay, so yeah, again, we'll show you a couple of these um different tools later on, how you can do that. Have you added sustainability goals to how you measure employee performance? Um, that's a good few yeses there. Brilliant. Are your business decisions influenced by real-time data about sustainability? No, not at the minute. Okay. And the last two, do you share your sustainability progress with customers or stakeholders in clear? No. So that's okay, that's good. Probably something again to think about to have a sustainability point report in the next year or two. Have you replaced paper-based solutions with digital ones? Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Brilliant. Okay. So generally what we do is you count the number of yeses and the number of no's. And depending on the number of yeses you got, you'd be sitting in the aware. So we know that this is the thing we have to do, but we're gonna put something in place to do it. And then the more yeses you get means you're a more sustainably driven company. So those are the different kind of steps you can think about putting in place in 2025, training, different digital tools in order to move you from an aware company towards sustainably driven. So, into CSRD scope and category. Now, CSRD stands for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and I'm going to go through what it is now. So what led us to CSRD? So why are we here? Why is this a legislation that we're asked to do? So really, it's coming from the European Green Deal. Um, you're seeing a lot of companies that are racing to net zero, which is great. You're seeing different global standards. You're seeing mobilizing of capital. So this is a really important one for the EU in particular. So you're seeing the central banks have started to make new funds that are all focused on green, new sustainable financing, all those kind of things. We're seeing the socially conscious investors from that. So um, all these different elements and government action, that's all really what's led us to this point of the CSRD report. So what I want to get across here on this slide is that there's a lot of data overlap. So as we said before, lots of different regulations, lots of different, you know, abbreviations. So with that, there's a lot of data, but within it, there's a lot of crossover. So that's a really good thing that, if you are focused on a different regulation, not CSRD, that a lot of the different metrics are similar. Not all of them. I can't say a percentage of exactly how many, but there's a lot of overlap there. So if we look at when is CSRD, when does it kick off? So it's already started for listed companies in 2024, 2025, non-listed companies that are large companies. So you'll see there large companies are any companies that are over 250 employees and with 50 million turnover or um, over 25 million total assets. So I would say that most people on this call today, and I'm just going to hazard a guess given the group that we're in, it's going to be financial year 2027 will be the year of reporting. But it's also important to note that a lot of your customers might be within 2024 and 2025. So these are the kind of data points that they're having to report on. And these are the kind of data points that they might come to your door asking for at some point. So it's important to know exactly, even though you might not be reporting by 2027, it's good to know what the data points are, which I'll take you through that. Finally, on this page, I suppose something, if you are reporting it this year or next year, the format is XHTML, and that is a format that if anyone is doing it now, there's a lot of mapping needed in it. So if you are doing your project timelines and things, to really put a bit of focus on that area, because yeah, it's a bigger exercise than a lot of people think it is. Right, so within the regulation, this is what it looks like. I'm not going to go through every single one, but these are the main areas that it covers. So you have the cross-cutting areas. That's the general, like really covers all aspects of sustainability. In your first category, you've got your environmental. In that one, you have things like, pollution, soil, waste. You have water and marine. You have biodiversity and ecosystems in there, supply chain, land management. And then moving on into social, you have your own workforce, so all the health and safety metrics, your employee conditions, diversity, well-being, training. And then it goes on to workers in the value chain. So this is probably, this is where you might be hearing from people in upstream around these kind of data points. But then you have, you know, affected communities, consumer and end users, business conduct. And if we think about the scale of that, so okay, that's a lot of categories, but what's actually within that? So overall, there's about 1,200 new data points in CSRD. And if you see on this slide here, you can see how many data points per section. So you can see in general there's 195. In workers in the value chain, there's 72. In environment, you can see there's for water there's 48. So we're really starting to get down to the detail here of, okay, we understand what kind of things they're asking for in CSOD, and we are understanding how many questions per area. So good news is not all 1,200 data points are relevant to everybody. So what has to be done to decide which data points are relevant to your organization is a double materiality test. So after that's done, what that is basically is looking at your company, asking everyone in the business that works in sustainability, um, you know, what's important, what's the most important aspects of the business, and you start to prioritize all of these different categories, and you see which ones are most important to you. And then at the end of that exercise, it generally turns into 500 to 600 data points for the company to actually report on, which is a lot more manageable than 1,200. Um, and that's a mix of 80% narrative data points, and 20% of those are numerical. So if we think about what that actually means, is 80% of everything you are reporting on in CSRD is, you know, written down. You know, we have this policy in place, it's, rather than numbers, and then 20% of it is spend and percentages and metric tons, all those different kind of units. And yeah, I suppose so. When you are reporting on it, so now we understand how many data points are in CSRD, we understand the areas it touches on. So how do you actually report on it? So the the CSRD is very clear on you know, a process to follow. It's about first looking at your governance and strategy, then it's looking at your material impacts and your opportunities. And then it's about writing policies, having all the policies in place. But to back up the policies, you need to have the actions, targets, and metrics. So anytime we do anything in sustainability, think about this illustration and think, do we have all these elements in place? And that'll get you, you know, then you'll be safe for CSRD. Um, if we just talk once more about a couple of challenges, risks, and opportunities with CSRD, we've already talked about the challenges. We understand them. I think security is another thing to consider. So if you understand that there's a lot of data going back and forth between a lot of different organizations, so it's really important that we do it in very secure methods, and that we, you know, there's a lot of important information there. So it's important that you do it through channels that are locked down and safe. So that's why digital solutions are probably the best, because they can, you know, they really look after the cybersecurity piece of things. And okay, so now after telling you so many times that we're going to look at tools, we're going to finally look at tools, and hopefully you have a better understanding of what's actually in CSRD and what's expected there. So, the first thing I'm going to show you is a tool that a lot of you might have seen already. So the part of CSRD is having your emissions, you know, baselined and doing all that kind of measurement. So this is traditionally what I would have worked with in sustainability in the past. It's a big Excel sheet, and you know, there's lots of prone to error. It's very hard to share with your team because so much data goes into it that, you know, it becomes a very big Excel sheet, and it's not very collaborative. So just to show that we've moved from this kind of place to having tools that we can do all of our emission measurement in a digital tool. which is absolutely fantastic because what's in here, before we did it like this, everyone logged into Excel and, sent it back and forth, back and forth. But now what we have is these tools. So this is Microsoft Sustainability Manager. Again, I just want to say this is the tool we chose today. There's lots of different options out there. There's Greenemy, there's Ecosia, there's millions and millions of tools. So this is just the one for demo purposes I want to go through today. So what you're seeing here is your emissions. You're seeing your total scope 1, 2, and 3. You can slice and dice it however you want, by site, by year, by month. But what's most powerful about this is your emissions libraries are in here. So all the calculations that you would have had to have done over here in these cells, this is all being done by mapping to existing libraries. So it's huge part, like it's so powerful. Um, that's for your emissions. Just to give you an example of a digital tool that you can use for that. And as I was mentioning, the different emission factor libraries that are in there. Um, Before there was tools, I remember having to search through libraries and libraries of databases trying to find emission factor equivalents for the business I was in. And it's fantastic to see that this is already in here. All you have to do is point at it, point your data to it, and it just runs off and does it for you. Whereas before we needed PhD students to do all this. It's They can still be on board. It's fantastic, but it's just not everyone has the capacity to bring on new people to the team to do these metrics. So a CSRD report, what I showed you there was an emissions report, and now what we're looking at is a CSRD report. Same thing. This can be done on an Excel. This is what the Excel would look like as if you were going to do a CSRD report. Um, so you can see all the different categories that we looked at. You know, they are they all have a different line. They all have a different tab. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you see ESRS 1, ESRS 2, 3, 4. So there's lots of different tabs. And this is one approach. You can definitely do it this way. But a tool that you can use instead is Purview, which is again, just want to say there's lots of tools that you can use, but just for demo purposes, this is the one I'm showing you today. So instead of having to have it in Excel, you can have this really great digital tool that basically if I click on it, it almost tells you like a story how to actually do it. So, have you got this implemented? This is what this legislation means. This data point is needed here. You've got full traceability in there because all of this at the end of the day has to be audited. So, you need that level of traceability in it. There's also great things in here like, you know, you can send this off for, once you've done something, it can be sent off for approval, like approval chains. And yeah, so just to, that's, if you want to do it in Excel, it would look like this, great. But if you want to do it on a digital tool, it can be like this. And again, just there's a lot of information in there that it can show you basically how to do it. Okay, so Mukesh.
Actually,
Oh yeah,
before we continue, we have few questions in the
oh
chat
yeah.
box. So we have Mario saying that it's very interesting of the project implementation process, but we are really interested to hear the real training strategy and how does the citizen access these tools and training in upskilling or skilling, and how you intend to deliver all this to the potential user, either co-individual government. And then I give you another question. Where does the data in this view come from? So I think it was, if you go back, I think I will tell you, I think it was one of the if you go back again.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was
maybe was it a
this one, the one
yeah.
before. Yeah.
I might let you take the first question, Sophie, because I think that's related to digital for sustainability, and then I'll
Yes.
take the second question.
So as I mentioned before, on the Digital for Sustainability project, we are now working on the skill strategy. So it will be released in. We will organize an event in May to present the strategy, and the first part of the project will be a pilot, and then we will move on. And what is also very interesting for you to know is that after the end of the project, we are planning to create an alliance with the partners in order to continue with these activities and to be able to reach as many people as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I leave you with the second question.
Yes. So, if this is the place where the person has a question regarding the source of the data, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. So, if we think back to the slide when data is all over the place, and then the whole point is unifying it. So, generally in an organization, data is everywhere. We have a number of different tools that look after different things in the organization. So this is taking that disparate data and unifying it. So this one in particular, it's plugged into, say, things like your SAP or whatever transactional data you use. So it could be plugged into your SharePoint. There's a lot of important information in there. It could be plugged into your HR tools. For CSRD, there's a lot of important metrics in there, such as gender, ages, and lots of different things. I could go on forever, but that's why you plug into there. Other places that it's plugged into, um, your utilities. So you put all your utilities up on SharePoint, and it would read from there and be basically aggregating the data, to give you these kind of dashboards and different insights. You can look at it from different. This is the emissions one, but you can look at it from water or waste or scope 3, anything like that. So I hope that addresses your question. The data comes from your business, and I suppose one other area it comes from is your suppliers. So in this case, the scope 3, which is your suppliers, would have a big impact on your overall emissions. So there is really good features here where you can single out the suppliers that you need to get in contact with, and you can send them surveys, and as they update you with their answers, it's automatically feeding into the right place here, so that you don't have to go and map everything manually when your suppliers send you a response on their on what they're doing basically. So yeah, I hope that's clear. I can't see the chat, but
So we have two more questions, Ashley.
yeah.
Was 80% quantitative or 80% qualitative? The slide was a bit confusing to me.
Oh yeah, not a problem. So 80% is the quantitative narrative, yes. 20% numerical.
Thank you, Ashley. I have another one. Shouldn't we choose a CSRD reporting tool based on the industry of the company? For example, CSRD reporting for a tech company is different from a maritime port.
Yes, yeah, that's obvious. Yeah, that's a huge piece of So yeah, that person perfectly described the process, if we look back, of the as is. So assessing your own company. Gosh, it's really far back. So assessing the as is landscape. So in this case, it's a tech company. So that would definitely be a huge factor on what comes out in their strategy versus the maritime would have a very different focuses. But really, I guess any industry can use these, and this tool in particular, um, because in the background, the emission factor libraries has vast amount of industries covered. There's not one I've come across yet that isn't in it. Maritime and tech are in it. We're a tech company, so we use this to track our emissions. Um, yeah. So I suppose it's again baselining as is, where are you? Where would you like to go? But also seeing the emission factory library is probably the biggest decision a company has to look at when deciding which tool to go with. So just yeah, that was a good learning point for us before actually. So yeah, thank you. Any more, Sophie? Oh, good. Okay. Thank you very much for the questions, guys. So Mukesh, I'll let you jump in here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley, for explaining the sustainability manager and reporting. So, hello everyone. I'm Mukesh Yadav, a senior data engineer at TechEnable. So today I'll be sharing some insights over Microsoft Fabric's sustainability offering and how it can help organizations achieve their environmental goals through data-driven solutions. Next slide, please. As we all know, the world is changing quite quickly with the advancement into AI and digital applications. We are generating huge amount of data every second. Hence, we need technologies which can handle these requirements. And there is where platform like Microsoft Fabrics comes into the picture. There are many tools out there in the market which can do the same thing, but for our own requirements, we chose Microsoft Fabric for it. So what is Microsoft Fabric? Fabric is a unified data and analytics platform that combines different tools and services into one seamless experience. It's like having a complete toolkit where you can store data, analyze your data, clean data, make reports on top of that, and also use AI component all in one place. So it's like, having a Swiss Army knife for your data, for handling all your data requirements, like storing large amount of data to creating visual dashboards. So you can access everything through a single platform, and you don't have to spin up different components and manage them. So it gets really easy. Um, uh, and it saves a lot of money and time for your resources because they are collaborating on one platform. Also, the biggest challenge that it was able to solve was data silos. Since everything is backed by one platform and underneath there is one storage layer that is shared by all the components, it basically removes data silos. So you can create different accesses for different departments, but the data lies at one place. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now, as Ashley explained, you could actually use standalone Microsoft Sustainability Manager to enter all your data points like carbon emission, etc. And you'll be able to generate reports with very simple clicks, few clicks, and also export the reports. You can use Purview on top of that to bring a layer of auditing and governance. But there is another way to do that. Like, you could actually use Microsoft Fabric Sustainability Accelerator, which will automatically create all the components and calculations required to pull the data into Fabric, and also give you pre-built reports and aggregation. So you don't have to do anything. Like, it's almost 80 to 90% of the job is already done for you. And the remaining 10% could be your specific needs. And for sure, like Ashley explained, there are either you can go with approach of using Excels to store all your data points, or else you can use Sustainability Manager. Now, if Fabric is seamlessly integrated with Sustainability Manager, so you don't have to build extra logic to bring in that data. It will directly come to Fabric. But if you use Excel, then you'll have to write some logic to bring in that data. But that also we'll explain in the demo. But why to use Fabric? Because though you can do all your very basic reporting, and all your needs will be almost fulfilled through the Microsoft Sustainability Manager reporting tool. But when you will use Fabric, you can get into advanced analytics, and also use AI to recognize the patterns in your data. Next slide, please. So I think now we'll jump to the demo. So I'm sharing my screen. Let me know. Yeah, once. So yeah. Okay, so this is how the Microsoft Fabric workspace looks like. The moment you'll spin up a Microsoft Sustainability Accelerator package, it will create a workspace for you and your organization. And it will look like this. With the help of task flow on the top, you'll be able to understand how the data is moving from one layer to another. And this is where I was talking about. If, let's say, you don't use Microsoft Sustainability Manager to store your data, and you use Excel, or let's say SharePoint list, etc., then this is the starting point where you need to pull that data, ingest that data, and bring it into Fabric. So through the ETL tool inside Fabric, which is Data Factory, you can easily pull that data. And the beauty of it is that with these ETL tools, there is no limitations when it comes to data source. You can connect to anything, whether it is a SharePoint list, or maybe a flat file sitting somewhere on your system, or an API. And obviously, Microsoft Sustainability Manager is seamlessly integrated. So it's there is no such limitations. And then the data moves into a different layer. You can actually click on them. It's very interactive, and it will actually show you where exactly is the data and in which layer. And every layer has its own purpose. And we are actually using Medallion architecture for data cleansing and movement strategy. At the end, you'll get into data visualization layer, which is basically so Microsoft Accelerator already creates one standard report, CSRD report for you, which you can then access through this. So I'll open the report. This is how the CSRD report looks like. So I'll start with climate change. And for this, I will take help from Ashley, because she'll be able to make you understand it better in the right terminology. Ashley, please go ahead.
No, thank you. Thank you, Mukesh. So yeah, thank you for describing that process of cleansing your data and, going through the different steps in order to get your data aggregated so that everything is uniform and can add up together for the different data points. So if you see here on the screen, we can see our total greenhouse gas emissions. But what you're seeing there now, if you see the E1641D, all of these are labeled and pointing directly to the CSRD legislation that is relevant for this data point. So when you have this dashboard open, you know to report that number into that part of the CSRD, which is really powerful. But this is all done automatically if you use all of these different softwares together. So Mukesh is clicking around there just to show you that you can slice and dice it in different ways. You've got different ways of looking at it, year on year, and location based or market based. It's always a question I get. Which way does the data look at it? And we can do both here. If we go into social, please, Mukesh. So before you would have always seen dashboards and different tools that have, emissions in it. But now what we're seeing in this Fabric sustainability is it has a lot of social metrics in there as well, which is really powerful. Again, you can see the CSRD labels. So these are the kind of questions that you're going to be asked for in CSRD. If we look at own workforce category, we've got the diversity indicators, so they need to know the total number of employees, the gender diversity splits, the male-female pay gap, incidents of discrimination, violations to UN principles. So if you go down again, you've got your health and safety indicators here, and you can look at that year on year. Your training and skills development indicators. Yeah, that's all here. And you can see their comparative year on year. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate that there is a lot of really good tools out there. And for me, this is one of the first tools I've seen that has the social metrics in there. And that's just great to see. I hope to see all the other tools following suit soon. So yeah, back to you, Mukesh.
Yep. So as you can see, Fabric makes it so much easier. With this accelerator, you can save a lot of time. You don't have to build everything from scratch. So like I explained, it's already there for you. You just have to input your data. Now you need to come up with a strategy, or maybe one point where you will understand that, all right, we will either go with Excel or a better digitally created platform like Microsoft Sustainability Manager. So once that is done, you can spin up this accelerator and you'll be good to go. Yeah, Ashley.
Great, thanks, Mukesh, for that. Super. So I suppose we might open to questions there, and if there's anything you want us to go back to as well, just in case we went through anything too quickly, I'll be happy to take those questions.
I might read you the last one we have. Are those emission factory libraries available in Sustainability Manager or default basis?
Yes, they are. They are. They come as part of it. So there's a lot there. I can't. It's a big number. How many there are, but that covers a lot of. It's got DEFRA. It's got all the EU kind of standards and things like that. But yeah, that comes out of the box part of it. The end user. Okay, so can I ask someone who the end user is? So the end user for the software would be a company who is preparing for CSRD in their own organization. So as we discussed, in order to get to the point of reporting, you need to have all your data in place. So the user for the digital tools would be anyone in your team who's going to actually be part of reporting. So it could be someone in HR, finance, legal, operations. You kind of in your process, if we go back to that circular graphic where we first look at as is and then define a strategy, that's when you define who in your organization who will be part of the reporting. So a lot of key information is everywhere in the business. So it's just important to pick the right people responsible for actually using the tool at the end of the day. Marius, I hope that answered your question. Great. Okay. Great. Thanks, Marius, for confirming. Any more questions? No, all good. Great. So we're a little bit earlier than we thought we would be. We went through the exercise quicker than I assumed, so apologies for that. So yeah, Sophia, I'll let you wrap up then, if that's okay.
Thank you, Ashley. Maybe if just leave a few minutes if you have other questions. We can also take questions after the webinar if you want. I don't see anything, but please, if you have any question, we have time. Otherwise, what I'm gonna share, because so I saw Mario's reminder on the questions and we replied to him. So what I'm gonna do now is to share the details of the project with the link to the website, so you can also have more information on the project on that. We have question coming. Do you know names of other platform? You mentioned Greenomy, I think. Any other good ones?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I have a list of them. Workiva, Work-IVA. Greenly is another one, Greenly. Greenomy, Greenomy. They're probably all the ones I've heard that are used, and there's lots more out there. And I couldn't vouch for them, but they're the ones I've heard are good and serve similar purposes for reporting on CSRD. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. We also had a comment from Nuno Souza saying, thank you, great webinar. Thank you, very clear and useful. Also from other persons. So I'm reading as it comes. And we have the question, could you share best low price application?
Low price application. Yes. For CSRD reporting, Microsoft Purview, the one that I showed you, is actually only about €10 a month. The first one I showed, which is the reporting and helping you put things in different places. As for the pricing for the other ones that I mentioned, I'm not too sure what the pricing is for the Greenomy and all of that. So, in terms of pricing, everything's up on the website available. And you can just do a quick Google, because depending on the size of your company, how much data you have, it could vary greatly. So I wouldn't want to spit out a number and it would be the wrong number.
Thank you very much. So I'm trying to see if we have more questions. We have an important statement from another partner of the project saying that it's important to state that the Digital for Sustainability is not recommending any specific platforms, any specific tools. It's not the objective. And do you recommend the use of such digital tools for micro and small businesses in implementing sustainable goals?
Definitely. And I know in Ireland, I'm not sure what country you might be based in, but our local government has really good free tools for businesses. So it'd be good to check out what your local government has. Yeah, that'll be a good first step. But yeah, definitely using tools is the way to go. I have used Excel sheets for large companies doing this before and wanted to tear out my hair. So let's avoid that in the future. But yeah, as David said, I think throughout the thing, I iterated that you know, this isn't the tools that we're recommending, just showing you examples of tools. These are the ones for today. I could spend forever showing you tools and different ways of going about things. But yeah, that's a really important point.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, David. I think I'm not missing any of the comments. Just leave a few other minutes before we wrap up. And as I was telling you at the beginning of the webinar, we would highly appreciate if you could fill in the survey, the participant survey that I'm going to share now with you. Ashley, do you mind resharing the presentation where we were at?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. If you have. And Mario also is saying that he's looking forward to the tools on upskilling and reskilling because this is a high demand. So very, very happy to hear that. So here is the participant survey. We're gonna put the link on the chat for you to fill it in. In the meantime, we're gonna go to the next slide. For you to have access to all the LinkedIn website, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter. So I will give you a few minutes to take those links. And in the meantime, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate. So I have shared the survey, so very grateful if you could take a few minutes to fill it in. And if I don't know if I don't see any more questions, I don't know if Ashley or Mukesh, if you have anything to add. Final remarks.
Just to reiterate to everyone that, everyone's at different points in their journey with CSRD, be very early days or very late. And, there's lots of great resources out there, like the ESRS website, any different platforms to look for information. And we're all in the same boat when it comes to this challenge. And yes, digital tools can be a great way to help with some of that heavy manual piece of it. And my door is always open if anyone wants to ask any questions or shoot me an email on any of the kind of more technical pieces, same as Mukesh. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. It's a very optimistic way of ending this webinar. I don't know if Mukesh, you have anything to add before we close?
No, actually, both of you have already summarized everything quite well, so nothing from my side. But yeah, thank you so much for joining the webinar. It was really nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you to join the webinar. I hope it was helpful, and I wish you a very nice afternoon and a very nice end of the day and weekend. Bye-bye, and thanks again for all your questions, comments, and thank you. Bye.
Bye.